Okay, welcome back, guys. This is the WESPAC main event, round 22, and I believe we are seeing familiar faces. This is Weibin once again, and Timi Woko, Weibin of Singapore and Timi Woko of Nigeria. Weibin has been holding it down, still maintaining first position, I believe, on the table, and second on the table we have Logan, and third we have Ashan. All right. So how about this one, Excel?
Oh, I'm excited to see this matchup. These two, in fact, played in round 9 here to Timi Woko. It's been an interesting matchup so far. We've seen amazing games on the stream, and I'm curious to see who takes this game.
Definitely, I'm curious as well. So we can see the standings right on our screen, and you should follow up to see how it's going.
All right, Weibin going first. He has YAWEDUM to move.
Okay, you play Hem AYED for 28 points, leaving Hem U. What other options do you see here, Excel?
I mean, if anything he plays starting from the double word score is going to expose a vowel next to the double letter score. So it's going to be a tricky start. I'm sure he's worried about like ZE or ZA or ZO plays there, but still he has to go for his highest point, and that is exactly what he has done.
Okay, we are not seeing Timmy's rack correctly, but I believe he's having REPISEZ.
Yeah, I would have that corrected in a bit. All right, I'm sure he's glad to see a spot for his Z. You know what I said just now, the ZE there scoring 45, leaving RIPS is a marvelous leave and a wonderful score to start this game.
Definitely very wonderful indeed. You could play Z for 45, leaving EIPRS, or you could extend it if you want to and play ZEP for 51 points. So I believe we are seeing Z come down for 45 points.
All things being equal, I believe Weibin would be playing the first bingo of the game as soon as this move is
Okay,
completed.
sorry. I think Timmy did go for ZEP for 51 points.
All right. On Weibin's rack, we see SADUMEN. He has options like Medusan available. Sudamen is also a 7-letter word available on the start.
Sudamen, Medusan, we might see any of that coming down from Weibin. That would officially be the first bingo of this game.
Yeah, I think one of the most obvious spots would be to pluralize Zep, forming Zeps and playing Sudamen there or Medusan there. But there is a really nice overlap to the right hand side of Yod, forming YAAMWE and ZEN. Sudamen there scores 90 points, and that is by far his highest bingo to play on this board, and wow, he spots it and plays it.
Okay, we might be getting a bingo bongo here, as Timmy should be able to respond with air bases through the S of Sudamen for 83 points, as he has a rack of air base.
Yes, we see you, Enoch, in the chat. It's a bingo bango fiesta here. All right, Arabize is now available for Timi Woko. I have a very, very good feeling he's not going to miss this bingo. We've seen both players on stream play sharp, play accurately, and play pretty fast. All right, we see Timi Woko reconfirming the scores, making sure it's 90, and I bet we're going to see Timi Woko on his bingo anytime soon. If you're just joining, this is game 22 of the World Scrabble Championships happening right here in Accra, Ghana.
So Timmy could play air bases or Arabizes. So we should be seeing any of those two come down for Timmy.
I think most likely air bases would be the move that avoid a hot spot for the X. Although it's still, I think either of these plays though would allow the X hot spot.
Definitely.
So all right, we're seeing go for Arabizes, I believe. Now the scores would be Weibin's 122, all right, apologies for the break in transmission there. We are confirming the scores, and yes, it is Woko's 134 to Weibin's 122. Wasting no time, Weibin plays GUB to the right hand side of Sudamen, scoring 38 points, leaving NOVE. Back to Woko, we see FOOTANG.
So right underneath Arabizes, he could play oft for 33 points, leaving A, G, and O. If he wants to keep it short, he could play just OF for 30 points, leaving A, G, and OC.
All right, I think this is a pretty standard move here from his last play. The I in Arabizes exposes, a hot spot for the F. And now that he has it on his rack, OFT there would leave AGNO, which can be pretty strong. So I'm expecting to see either OFT or OF for this move, scoring 30 or 33 points with a relatively good leave. An interesting extension that I hope um, we might be seeing. Very, very unlikely though would be web foot, a sucker for words like that where you can extend from web to web foot or webisode or things like that. So web foot would be an interesting one, but I sincerely doubt would be seeing any play like that. And yes, it goes for OF and it plunks down the T2, scoring an additional 3 points on that turn.
OFT, pretty standard move, and that has been committed from Timi Woko.
Back to Weibe now with a rack of EEOVNGH.
Now he could play Oven, HOVEN, with the N hooking the BO from Aramaitis and Oft for 27 points, leaving EG. Another option, if he doesn't want to expose the triple lane, would be to play Vego, VEGO, in the same spot for 21 points, leaving EHN. What do you think about that?
But I think playing HOV and opening up that triple is unnecessary at this point of the game. Virgo scoring 21 points, leaving AHN seems pretty standard at this point, and the scores are pretty tight. He doesn't need to unnecessarily open up lanes for his opponents to cash in on such spots.
You might be considering Veg, I believe, in the same spot as I've seen him set aside Veg. He could play in the same spot for 20 points.
Oh yes, the leave of HEN and HONE rather are pretty close. It just depends on what he can make from his next move. All right, we're saying reconsidering things now. We see GOV arranged on his rack. Perhaps he wants to play that to the left hand side of Zeb, forming GEDOP. I think it's a confusing turn. There are lots of options. We've seen him consider Vego, we've seen him consider Gov, and it's just looking at the dynamics of the board, seeing how any of these plays changes the shape of the board, and I'm sure he's also concerned about his leave, wondering if HEEN is a better leave than HONE or even HEN if he opts for Vego. I'm curious to see if we'll be having any 6 points play or 6 style play rather, extending ED or rather ending with ED. It would not be a bingo, but I think it's a sport, worth considering or looking out for throughout this game. There are certain, tiles you could have that do not play bingo on the board, but playing a 8 letter word ending with the ed at the center of the board could score quite a number of points. And I'm curious to see if this scenario would play in this matchup.
Okay, he might be changing his mind with Vego, and Vego plays in the same spot, just beneath um, 21 points.
Yes, I know Weibin to be a player who takes his time and makes sure he's making a move. He has absolutely 100% confidence in. We've seen him on stream countless times during the start of the game. We see him assess, his leaves, the scores, the dynamics of the board before committing his move.
Weibin is such player who takes his time and makes sure he's making a top choice in every turn. All right, back to Timi Woko. He could play Oka, but I see him dropping OK. OK plays for 28 points, but if he decides to play Oka, that would definitely go for 30. So I see he's adding the A for 30 points, leaving EGIN. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think that's pretty standard. INGA has some synergy to it. Leaving the A could mess up the rack if you pick extra vowels with that. So leave of INGA fits him well enough to maybe come down with the bingo to the V and then with ING.
Okay, Webbing has duplicated E's and duplicated R's along with HN. Okay, what options do you see here for him?
I mean, right now with 3 hours, that must be quite a blow for him, but he can still squeeze out certain points on this board, as someone has suggested in the chat. Booker right now would score 24 points, leaving HENRR. And who knows, maybe gonorrhea, as someone has said, could come down later on the board from the GO in Vego. It would be an interesting turn of events if we see that. I'm here for it if we can see such things happen here on stream.
Yeah, definitely. I think he is considering Booker, but he's hesitated a bit and dropped back. The tiles. He could also play Jaeger, I believe. Through the YHG on the board, he could add the ER for 18 points. It does leave the same leave of EHNRR. So I believe he's going for Booker instead. Scores 6 more points, and that has been committed for 24. Now it's back to Woko with AENGIFA.
Yes, indeed. I think there was no play whatsoever in the last turn that could have used up 2 hours. And Booker scoring 24, still, retaining an E and an 8. Perhaps he could come, back in his next turn and score a bit better than that. Back to Timmy, we have AAFIGEN. After his last play of OKA, I'm sure he was hoping to play, some bingos, but I'm sure he's glad he played the A when he played Oka in his last turn, because now we see him draw two more A's into his rack.
That must not be what he was expecting, but then you can't control what you do pick. So I see he is going for FEA. FAE.
All right, FAA in that spot scores 10, leaving AEING. Another option would have been to play FEAR to the R of Booker, but that would have set up an affair hook. And looking at the tiles left in the bag, it's likely the opponent might have it. So maybe that would have been a reckless setup, and instead he goes for FAE.
Let's take a look at Weibin's rack. I think he has three R's and then PEHN. Now, would you exchange it? I think that is exactly what he's doing.
Yes, the options here are absolutely brutal. Perhaps PERN to the ED extension I talked about earlier, but that would leave HRR and it scores way too little. So you might as well exchange, go into the bag, and hope for much better tiles.
And we still have the two S's on scene, the two blanks, so exchanging really gives him a better chance of picking any of that. So now back to Woko with GIAENIN. Okay, this isn't exactly what Woko would be expecting, so his options are quite limited. What would you play here, Excel?
Well, I'm looking to, still retain the ing leave, hoping for a bingo down from the F, or if Weibin opens up somewhere on this board, I can, play an ing bingo or something. But right now, his options are really limited, and ANI Okinyagi would expose a hotspot for the S. So perhaps left to me, I would actually exchange on this turn, given my opponents just did the same. But we see him go for nip instead, opening up the left-hand side on the board. A five-letter move played there would be devastating. You can see the X, Q, J still on scene, and a player would easily score in the 40s or 50s, depending on the tiles.
Right. Even after Weiby's exchange is still running into a bit of a sticky situation, I presume, because now he has IAERION.
What an interesting turn of events. He was running into consonant trouble in the last two moves, and now he has way too many vowels.
Though he does set aside NORIA, so I think he wants to play right above NIP, and that costs 20 points, leaving EI.
Well, I have to say, I think Woko escaped such a play of NIP there, because a biggie from Weibin in that turn would have scored a lot more. And him saying just Noria scoring 20 in the spot he just opened must be a bit of relief for Woko.
And in turn of events, we would be getting, or we might be getting, a bingo from Woko with retaping. In fact, is placing it down, retaping points by Timi Woko.
I was hoping we would probably see a 9-timer, but the Y as the last style Weibin picked would be, slowing him down from playing a 9-timer in that move.
And it looks like luck is indeed on Weibin's turn, on Weibin's rack, because he has a rack of YARISET. And if he plays through the P of the retaping played by Woko, he could play Asperity for 86 points. Wow.
Yes, it's now raining bingos. We saw a pretty high octane start with Sudamen and Arabizers coming down quickly earlier in the game, but then the players had to slow down, balance their tiles, and we see retaping coming down as the next bingo for Timi Woko. And all things being equal, we should see Weibin play Asperity as soon as he spots it.
Definitely, I really do think Weibin is up to the task. I mean, I've seen a couple of what he has played that I've learned from. So I think Asperity being played on this board is not really of an issue for Weibin, because as a matter of fact, I see he's arranging austerity.
I think he would soon spot the move. Currently, I know he's probably fixated on the G, staring at everyone in the and on the board for the ninth time. But these are tiles that I'm sure masters player like himself have read multiple times, and I'm sure he can deduce that none of these plays to the G, and we can see ASERITY arranged by Weibin spotting the asperity, and we'll see if this comes down on the board.
Okay, and we are seeing Asperity come down from Weibin for 86 points.
Yeah, I think this leaves the board or even the game itself open to anybody. It's unpredictable at this point. Yes, Weibin does have about a 30 points lead, but as soon as Timi Woko plays, he's going to catch up, and then they are going band for band, aura for aura.
So the current score after Asperity is Weibin 311 to Woko's 286. Immediately, I see Woko going in for Xylol, and that scores 45 points, leaving IST.
The best thing about moves like this is not the score alone. 45 years is really good, but IST leave after that must be, amazing for Timi Woko right now.
And I must say.
Yes, the scores 311 for Weibin to Woko's 331. Let's see what Weibin draws. All right, we see INCOTLV.
What do you think you should do here, Excel?
Well, the triple lane is still pretty much open. The A from Asperity, he could play maybe Vatic down there or Cavill scoring 30 points. And as soon as he plays that, once again, they are going to be going neck for neck.
Interesting. Vatic does score 30 points, leaving L and O. As well, we could play Cavill for 30 points, leaving N O T.
Yes, but taking a sneak peek into what Woko has drawn from the back, we can see he is set to play a bingo by all means next turn. Most likely, maybe Slitia to through the air, or maybe there's somewhere else on this board I can't spot right now, but he's most likely going to play a bingo next turn. And wow, this game is getting tense.
It is really getting tense, and this is exactly what I'm here for.
Yes, with 29 on Centals, we've seen 4 bingos played on this board, and we're about to see the fifth as soon as Weibin plays. Perhaps, Weibin plays a move that spurs his Timmy's bingos at all possible points. Or let's see what it comes up with. But I think Cavill or Vatic through the A in Asperity is way too tempting, and he has to cash in on that spot as soon as possible.
Definitely, I do feel we're going to see either one of the two come down.
We know Weibin is not going to rush his move. I'm dead sure he has spotted Vatic or Cavill for 30 points, but he's going to take his time and assess the board as he always does. And I think it's really working out for him. He's stopping the standings, and if this is his style, his play, to squeeze out every second of the game and take his time on every move, then I have to say it really is working for him.
Definitely, could say the same. It's interesting. In a span of about 3 seconds, he did set up the CVIL and he did set up VTIC, both inferring that he either wants to play Cavill or Vatic.
Yes, he has spotted both moves. The only question here is, do you want a leave of NOT or a leave of LON? I'm sure he's going to look into the unseen pools. Look at how many tiles are left, how many L's, how many N's, how many T's, and from that, he's going to make his inference on what to play on this turn.
Definitely, those little details are what really goes a long way in this game of Scrabble.
All right, we see Pelumi in the chat. I'm sure he's a Nigerian rooting for Woko to win. I mean, Woko has been really impressive ever since he was playing in the last chance qualifier to feature in the main event. But that takes away nothing from Weibin Toh, one of the world class players right now in Scrabble. and we can see him, proving his mettle on the board and in this tournament. Yes, Cavill comes down for 30 points, leaving NOT. I'm curious to see how quickly Timi Woko plays his bingo next turn.
Just like you said earlier, Slitia can come down from Woko for 59 points. He could twist it a little bit and play Stiltia for 59 points.
All right, it's interesting to see Woko taking his time. I wouldn't say he's too fast a player or too slow a player, but I mean, right now the only two bingo options are Slitia and Stiltia. Just dotting his eyes, crossing his T's, making sure this is the only bingos available for him.
Okay, he has gone for Stiltia for 59 points. Now it's back to Weibin with a rank of IOTNOEE. Oof, that looks almost synergic, but then it's not enough to bingo. And since you're all one pointers, not much damage can be done on this turn for Weibin.
Yes, indeed, the scores are Woko's 390 to Weibin's 40. Let's see what he comes up with on this turn.
As a matter of fact, I think I see the first blank on. Oh wow, the two blanks on Timmy's rock. Wow.
All right, back to Weibin, Eeinoot. We see him taking his time. I'm sure he's worried about the openings on the board. Not worried per se, but thinking if in Timmy's next move he obstructs the R, the E, then where is he going to bingo on this board? So he has verbal troubles right now, but at the same time, I'm thinking he's hoping to open up the board somewhere else. And after his 7 points, after 7 tiles play rather from Timi Woko, I'm sure he has a feeling that either of the blanks would be on Timi's rack right now. But with us in the commentary booth and you guys on the stream, we can see live that Timi Woko has indeed found both blanks.
He could be looking to play through the A of retaping, and from the C of carving, we could play quartz, I believe, or coats with the E for 22 points, leaving EIN whole. Other options might be to play Tuni above Slitia. What do you think about those moves?
I think any move here would either score very little and not leave good enough tiles. But Tuni laying out 6 tiles, hoping to pick one of the blanks would be something worth considering. The only drawback, or perhaps the most important drawback there is exposing the E triple triple, and it could come back really really ugly for him. I see someone in the chat suggest EXO. And I think these are one of the moves that you might not find as really appealing, but right now EXO would in fact open another 7 bingo lane on the board and still leave the R and E floating for bingo. So I think that is something worth considering. He plays out two of his vowels, and with a really good draw, who knows, he might bingo on his next turn.
Definitely, definitely. From his own point of view, he might want to play out more tiles in hopes to pick up the blanks that's unseen but unknowns to him, which we know it's on Woko's rack, and also fish for other tiles.
All right, we apologize for a brief break in transmission there. Our technical team is definitely working on it right now. All right, we are back, and we see Exine was played by Weibin in the last move, and we are seeing Timi Woko rather going for his move of WHOM. All right, one thing about this move is it only takes the back hook P, and as we can see from the tau pool, there are no P's left on this turn. Back to Weibin Toh, I'm sure he's glad to see the QU combination and is hoping to do some damage with that on this board. The scores are 367 to Woko's 419, about 50 points deficit. Can he get back into this game with the tile combination he has currently? Personally, I feel, in fact, I'm sure many of you would agree with me that Woko is most likely picked to, win this game with the two blanks. It is a hell of an assist because two blanks on this board, a bingo is definitely most likely to come down. We see you in the chat. Hello to YouTube. You can tell us where you're watching from and ask any questions you want about the tournament. All the players will be here to answer you.
All right, so for this turn, with a rank of QUNDOTO, now his options here might be to play key with the Q hooking the high of Stiltia for 31 points. Also through the O of Noria, it could play chord, I believe, for 37 points. What do you think he should do here, Excel?
I mean, it's his chances go dimmer and dimmer by every move. But right now, letting go of the queue might be something worth considering, or maybe just maybe holding on to it for maybe an out bingo containing the queue, or maybe a 70 points move somewhere. But right now, I really can't see any of that available for Waving. And the most excruciating thing for him is I'm sure he's hopeful that at least one of the blanks have to be in the bag. But from our perspective, we can see Timi Woko has both, and it would be a miracle right now for Weibin to try and navigate a win out of this.
Definitely, definitely. Although we can't see the timer right now, but Rabin is taking his time as usual on this one.
And we can see from Woko's rack, he is most likely going to bingo next turn, almost regardless of what Weibin plays next. The M is sitting pretty for what like Dosima for the next turn. Even the O, we have the color playing on that spot, and the seven-letter word bingo lodged feels plays really nicely above the I, N, and E in Exine, scoring 72 points.
Is it too early to say this might just be Woko's game?
Well, it's Scrabble, anything can happen. Who knows? We might see a phony from Woko and it would change this game completely. We've seen a couple of phonies with two blanks on a player's rack.
Yeah, I mean, we did see a cosmic come down earlier on, I think yesterday, the day two of this event. So having the two blank does can affect your decision making.
Yes, indeed. But let's see what happens if there would be any drama unfolding as this game commences. All right, we've seen QI come down for Weibin, scoring 31 points. The scores are Weibin's 398 to Woko's 419. Now we see if a bingo comes down for Woko. Yes, I see in the chat an e-draw for Weibin would have made things interesting as he would have outdone perhaps to play out. And by that time, Jay would have been left on Woko's rack as soon as he plays a bingo. So I think that would have made things interesting truly, but we don't see that sequence of events play out.
All right, so we might be seeing the color or Dulcimer, I believe, come down from Woko or even Lodged. I mean, he has about a bunch of options to choose from. So, but he could play the color through the O of One.
Yes, indeed. As much as we know Woko to be an excellent player, and right now I think his chances of playing a Funi are 0 to none. Still, there is in fact still that chance that a phony can be played. Who knows? In my time playing Scrabble, there are times that I would arrange a bingo and think I'm arranging like the exact thing in my head, but well, we see a bingo eventually coming down. I think it's the color come down for Timi Woko, and with that move, I think he's definitely got this game in the bag.
The color it is for 78 points. Wow, I think it's also interesting to mention that Weibin is currently on 41 seconds to Timmy's 11 minutes.
The pressure is high, and we would see him make his move as quickly as possible. I'm sure he's a bit, heartbroken to see both blanks come down and an easy bingo for Timi Woko to most likely win this game.
Definitely, time pressure might affect some decisions here. He would have to make his move very fast. Some of his options might be to play on Oud, I believe, from his rack, with the O hooking the D of the color and the D hooking the E of the color as well. That's cost 31 points. What other options do you see for him?
Yeah, I think on Hood has to be the move here, or he could play through the now opened E for HEN, the scoring 33. But I think we're seeing a bit of technical issues right now, or perhaps a towel missing or something. I'm sure the director on ground or the technical team on ground will have that sorted in a bit. Personally, I'm curious to see who would have played out if Weibin had the Tono outdone right after this move. All right, after proper analysis, Duotone or outdone could have won way this game. Yes, it would have kept things interesting because Woko would have drawn HJ, and after you do the math, Woko would win that game with 497 to Weibin 494. But we are not seeing that scenario play out as Weibin has NHOODT on the turn to play. I can see they're still trying to sort out the issue there, and I'm sure as soon as the tournament director or the technical team, are I've intervened. We'll have that sorted in a bit. Thanks for your patience. Once again, this is round 22 of the World Scrabble Championships happening here in Accra, Ghana. On your screens, we have Weibin Toh, who is currently leading the standings, going against Timi Woko. But unfortunately, he's going to most likely drop this game, and Woko is going to inch closer to winning or being on top of the standings. All right, Hussein, all has been sorted. The color was the move, and it's back to Weibin with UDNTOOH with less than 39 seconds on his clock, ready to make a move.
Okay, I think he is in fact going for end, I believe, for 34, 33 points, and that has been committed. Now with just JE left on Timmy's rack, he could easily finish just through the O of Noria by playing Joe for 12 points, and even through the O of the color, it could play Joe for 11 points. Either ways, it gets to finish and bring this game to an end.
Yes, indeed. Playing QI when it was Weibin's turn, leaving OOUTDN would have given him, some chance in this game. With the E draw, as someone pointed in the chat, duotone or outdone was possible during that turn, but unfortunately he misses that, and it would not have been enough either ways, and we see the color come down.
Right, so that brings us to the end of round 22, crowning Woko the winner of this one with a score of 517 to Wabin's 431. Okay, we'll switch over to the overhead mic now, and we'll call it, we'll see you soon.